Yeah, he heard it and he memorized it. That's the scary part. 5-2, we're estimating sums and differences. So you've done this before. This is not new. But I really want you to be able to look at this lesson as a help. Differences as a help to you. I really want it to be a help. Okay, so I'm going to look at, let's look at that example, the application with business. If the shoe fits if the shoe fits, buy it. How many of you like shoes? Shoes. You like getting shoes. Okay. Well, that's interesting. By the way, I noticed some of your shoes. I'm like, wow, these are some cool shoes. Those are nice shoes. Yeah. My shoes are a little bit old school, but they're like gloves. They're worn in and they're very comfy now. But with shoes, we're going to see here a little bit of application with business. And this is old, okay? This is not like recent, but it does have the exercise craze of the 1980s. It's kind of cool, but you're like, the 1980s, those were lame times, right?
No, those were the best times. They had the best style.
Those years were so good that we bring stuff from those years to now. Like shows, music, ideas, clothing. There are some things that I see some of you wearing. That's the 80s. It's like they came back. I won't tell you it now for sake of putting this online. The exercise craze of the 1980s changed the world of fitness and the world of fashion. Once seen only in the locker room, athletic shoes are now part of the everyday wardrobe. And we see that right now, right? Almost everyone's wearing athletic shoes, or you wear them often. The graph at the right shows athletic shoe sales made to women, men, and children. What were the total sales of athletic shoes? Okay, so you guys see that little graph? Who bought the most athletic shoes in that year?
Obviously.
The women. And then the least would have been the children. Now, well, children's shoes. Oh my. So if I'm looking at this, can someone help me out here? And can you read me the totals for women's shoes, men's shoes, and children's shoes? The exact 153.2 and all that. Yeah, Caroline?
For the women, it's 153.2. And then for the men, it's 115.9. And for the children, it's 96.0.
Okay. And they're just saying we're rounding it to that 10th value. If I want to find the total, I'm going to add it. But what we're going to do is we're going to estimate. Now, there are many ways to estimate, but you have to be consistent. That means on this problem, if I want to estimate an answer, that means I have to round these numbers to a certain place value. Now, by the way, is it $153.20 that they're talking about?
No.
They're talking about $153 million, 200,000. Sorry, 153,200,000. 115,900,000. 96 million. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do this a couple ways, and I need you guys to work it out with me. We need to understand place values. So I want us all to round these three numbers to the nearest tens place. The nearest tens. So you're like, tens? What's the digit in the tens place here on the top number? No, what's the digit? The 5. Therefore, the 1 and the 9. Okay? So I want to round it here at this place value. So, like, what does 153.2 round to the nearest tens?
160.
Close. 150. Now, can someone explain how we got 150 rounding it to the nearest tens? I need an explanation, not just the answer. Tristan, so how to get 150 from 153.2?
You would look at the 3 because that's the closest thing after, and if it's not 5 or higher, it doesn't round up, so it just goes down.
Okay, yeah, and I would say this. You look at the digit right next to it on the right, and this number determines whether this should stay the same or go up. And in this case, 3 makes that stay the same. All these digits after become zeros, and you don't have to put 0.0, but that is technically what happens. And you keep the ones on the left. Okay? What would the second number, 115.9, round to the nearest tens? Sydney? 120. Whoa, that would really 120? I thought it'd be. Okay, how did you get 120?
Well, you look at the 5, and that brings the number up.
Up.
So it would be 1, instead of 1, it would be 2.
Good. It becomes 120.0 or 120. And then this next one right here, Josie, what does 96 round to nearest tens?
100.
1. Huh, that's interesting. Why 100, Josie?
Because I looked at the 6. The 6
Uh-huh.
is greater than 5. And bring it up.
You bring this up, but what's 1 higher than 9? 10. So it becomes 1, 0, 0.0, which is 100. Okay, and then hopefully you guys are pretty good at adding, but is that really hard to add right there? Okay, go ahead and add it up. Yeah, 370 million. Now, I'm going to ask you some basic questions. Is 370 million, in this case, is that the exact answer? No. It is called an estimate, okay? And the reason I want to get through the terminology is because some people mix up estimating and rounding. They're not exactly the same thing. Okay, can I give you the difference here? Okay. When you changed 153.2 to 150, you did what? You rounded. You rounded. When you change this to this, you rounded. Rounded. When you get your sum of these rounded numbers, this answer right here is called an estimate. So this is not called rounding. This is not a round number because this is the rounding and this is the estimate. Because you're going to see the instructions are like, wait, do I round or do I estimate? Well, you got to know what the difference is. Yes.
Technically, that is rounded because if you add up the ones that are not estimated,
See.
round that, then it's
So and you know what just happened there? I understood you, Braden, and that's good. But you mixed up those words just now. He said the ones that you estimated are now what you got when you rounded. But it's the ones you rounded are the ones you get when you estimate. So it's just a technicality, but you'll see in the instructions they'll ask you to do something here. All right. Let's go ahead and add the actual numbers. So go ahead and add them real quick. See what you get. I want the actual. So I want to know exactly how many millions of dollars these people bought in shoes, women's, men's, and children. So hold it for just a moment. You guys have some time. Do you have a question or you have the answer?
I have the answer.
Okay, hold it, John. I'll let you answer it. And I'll give you guys some time. So whether you're working it out on paper or you're putting it into a calculator, I know that my answer should be somewhat close to this number right here. Okay? It's probably going to be a 3-digit number, and it's going to be close to 370. Not exactly. All right. John, what did you get for your final answer here?
I got 365.1.
Okay, let's see here. This is 1. This is 8, 14. 14. Yes. 14, 6, 7, 6.
You have to carry the 1.
Oh,
No.
very good, guys. Sorry. My actual answer is not correct. Okay. And then I have the 15, carry the 1, so 7, 16, 365.1. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, now I'll put the dollar sign. And it's millions, but that's going to be okay. Is 365.1 very close to 370?
Yes.
Yeah.
Round it, you get
Yeah, in this case, if you round it, that's not always the case, but yeah, they're very close. So if I'm working this out, whether on a calculator or on the paper, and I get something that's way off of that, I can already know, I probably didn't do something right. Does that make sense? Okay, let's do another one. Look at example 1A.
So to finish that one, we have to do 300
Oh, no. I would say, because it says what's the total amount of money. Yeah, so you would just put the dollar sign. I think it's saying money or pairs. Let me make sure. No, it's saying sales. And if you have a part of a sale, they're not saying that you did, like no one bought 2/10 of a shoe. But that it'll have to be clearer in the problem. But this, thankfully, example number 1A is very clear on what to do. Okay. Estimate using rounding. So you see that? Estimate using rounding. Are they the same thing? Not necessarily. So 8.890 plus 15.98. You know what's cool about this lesson? And it's good and also whatever. I'll let you guys decide how cool it is. But you don't have to actually work it out. You just have to estimate, which is nice. So here, can somebody tell me what you would round? Which place value you would round? Remember, you got to pick a place value. You got to round it there, and you have options. Which, just don't round to the nearest like thousandth, which means you're just adding it like normal. Round it to something. Elizabeth, what would you do?
I rounded it to the ones place.
Okay, to the ones place. How many of you did to the ones place, like right here and here? I think that's a good place. Did anyone do different place value? What'd you do, Tristan? Okay, to the tenths. That can also work. Anyone else do anything different? Okay, you can technically do it to the tens place, right? You can do it right here. But I think the ones is the best. I think it's going to get you accurate without making it too far off. All right, so what does 8.890 round to the nearest whole number? Caroline? 9. What does 15.98 round to the nearest whole number? Sophie?
16.
What's 9 plus 16?
25.
So that would be your answer. That's your estimate. It's not your actual, it's your estimate. Now, should my actual, would be very close, but it's not going to be exact, that's okay. Sorry, Tristan, did you still do it to the tens?
No, I'm just saying that.
Okay, you would do it.
Yeah.
Can we do the same problem instead of rounding it to the 1 or to the whole value? Let's round it to the tenths place. So what would 8.890 round to the nearest tenth? John? 8.9. Okay, so 8.9. What would 15.98 round to the nearest tenth? Hold on. Someone raise their hand or I'll call on you. Callie, what do you think?
16. Wait, which one?
So, this one to the nearest tenth.
It would become a 10, so you carry the 1 and it would become 16.
So it's 16. Oh, they're the same thing. Well, it happened to be in this case. You add these up and what do you get? Okay. If you have the same problem and some of you round it to the whole and some of you round it to the tenth, you're going to get two different answers, aren't you? They're both correct. They have to be both correct. You know what's kind of interesting about rounding? You see how we rounded here to the whole number, and then here we rounded to the tenth? Which one's more accurate?
The 10.
Why? The tenth, he said. Why?
Smaller, so closer to the actual.
Okay,
So it's smaller.
kind of getting there. You want to try, Jens?
You're making it more like focused on like what you're doing.
Okay, I think I'm going to combine both your ideas. It's focused because you're getting closer to the actual number, right? Like if you rounded it to the nearest hundredth, you're actually just using the same number. If I rounded it to the 10, what would I get? Does anyone know? 10 plus 20 is going to give me 30. Isn't that the farthest off? It's because I rounded it to the farthest out place value. So the further in you go in place values, the more accurate you get. But again, you have choices. All right, B, you're now dealing with differences. So B, you can also do with subtraction. 132.62 minus 45.81. 45.81. Okay, on your homework, this is what I'm expecting, so please listen carefully. You have to write the problem up there, so the actual problem gets written up there, and then you have to underline what place value you're going to round to. So if you want to round it to the whole number, underline it. Tens, underline it. Tenths, underline it. I don't care what you round it to, but you got to show me. Does that make sense? So I got to see it. I know. So what would you guys pick on this one? Anybody? First one, first serve. Yes, ma'am. The ones place. All right, so you want to round it right here? Okay, somebody, can somebody round 132.62 to the nearest whole number? Yes, Max? 133. That's correct. I look at the 2. That's the place value I want to round. I look at the next digit. That makes 2 go up once. And so I get 133.00. What does 45.81 round to?
46.
46. And what operation is being performed here?
Subtract.
Yeah, so be careful with that because that's easy to, add it. No, subtract it. And then, so do we get 87?
Yes.
Okay. You did the tens place? Tens or tenths?
Like the whole number one.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get that. What'd you get?
I got 120.
Okay, so you rounded this to 130?
Yes.
Okay, 130. So this is the tens. And what'd you round this one to? 50. And you subtract it and you get?
Sorry, no.
That's okay.
0.
Mm-hmm.
8. Yeah, for adding.
So you get 80. So both of these would be correct as long as you showed me that. That's okay. Bella, can I make a confession? Ready, guys? Breathe. I sometimes make mistakes up here. Yeah, in shame. Yeah, I do. I do often, by the way.
You did like the problem ago.
Actually, very recently. But that's okay. We make mistakes. We correct them. Thankfully, I have you guys to help me out. Yep.
I rounded to the tenths place, like the decimal.
Uh-huh.
I got 86.9.
Okay. So it's very close, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually more accurate than either one of these because you didn't round as far out. Good. All right, guys. I'm going to give you one other type of problem, and then the rest of the time you have for homework. Example 3. Example 3 is kind of it's a nice one because now we're dealing with fractions. Let me ask you this. This is review, right? We just dealt with decimal numbers, right? They were terminal decimal numbers, right? So what kind of numbers were we just dealing with? Think yesterday. Yeah, well, they're decimals, but rational numbers. Do you remember the other type of rational number? So we had integers, and then decimals, and I heard it, fractions. All right, so example 3. This is the other type. 3a. 4 and a 12th plus 16 and 19/32, or 19/32. All right.
Did you just say if either of the fraction is over half, and then if it is, then you round it up, the old one?
So I'm actually going to get it. Yes, you could do that. I'm going to say you round it either to the whole number or to the nearest half. So I want to see half or one of the wholes above or below. So like on this one right here, we're not going to actually work this out. But we are going to round this number right here. So these are your options. Does 4 round down to 4?
Yes.
All the way up to 5, or 4.5?
Down 4.
Where does it closest to?
Down 4.
Yes, ma'am?
No.
Oh, I see. Right here? It's 4 and 1/12. Like if it's 4.5, I would. So like if I look at this on a number line real quick, so 4 and 5, where would 4 and 1/12 go?
Right next to it.
Yeah, I'd go like somewhere right here. So what is it closest to? 4, 4.5, or 5? We're going to use 4. So these are less subjective. That means these ones with fractions are going to be a lot more exact. So we're going to use 4.
So I'm just going to do 4 or 5. You have to use the half too.
If it's closest to half. Yes, because that'll make it more accurate, just like you guys have talked about. All right, 16 and 9/32. Ugh. Is that going to round down to 16, all the way up to 17, or 16 and a half? Don't say it. I want you to think about it. I'm going to give you time to think. Is it going to be 16, 16 and a half, or 17? It's only one of them. All right. I'm going to call on Michael.
Yeah, Michael.
Try it. You have a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right. So is it 16, 16 and a half, or 17? What does this round to?
Oh,
Okay. All right, so I didn't hear. 16 and a half. There you go.
Yeah,
It is 16 and a half.
Michael, how did you find that out?
You're a math quiz.
Wow. All right. Anyway, 16 and a half would be correct. And you're like, oh, man, but Mr. Now we have to add this. And does anyone know why it's 16 and a half? Well, what is half of 32? 16 30-seconds would have been directly in half. And isn't 19 very close to 16?
It's 30 seconds away from 16, and then a lot away from 9. No, something away from 30.
Yes, it's further away from that. 13 away, I guess. Yeah, just add the whole numbers. What's 4 plus 16? 20 and a half.
What, Mr. A?
You guys doing okay?
Mr. A.
Yeah.
It's not 17 in this book.
Oh, well, again, is there a different way to do it? They're rounding it to the whole number down here. I'm rounding it to the halves. I want the halves. So they got 21, I think? We got more exact. We're more closer to the answer. Or I should say, we should be closer.
Or closer.
Emphasis is mine. All right, anyway. Do you guys see how this would get you 20 and a half? Now, the book, I think, said 17, but they're rounding it to the nearest whole number. You have to be able to round to the nearest half. So that's why we got 16 and a half rather than 17. All right, B. 7/8 and... Yeah, B. Well, sorry, after this example. 7/8. And adding with that 7/16. All right. Somebody who has not answered yet is going to tell me what 7/8 round to. So it either goes to 0, half, or 1. Jack.
1.
It goes to 1. It's 1/8 away from 1, so we're going to say it's 1.
Well, have one that will go to 0.
Sorry?
Have any that will go to 0.
Yes. If you get like 1/12, for example, you can round that to 0.
Can you run right to 0?
Technically you could. But yeah, I wouldn't advise that. All right, anyway, 7/16, raise your hand. Or I might just call on you. Marissa? So is it 0, half, or 1? Okay? That's it. I would say this. It's 7/16 away from 0, right? And it's, I think, 9/16 from 1. But isn't it kind of really close to the...
1/16.
Right in the middle. What would be half of 16, by the way?
8.
8. So isn't 7/16 really close to 8/16?
Yes.
So it's going to go closer to half. Like and if you're looking at a number line, if we had 0 and 1, 7/16 would go, like if this is half, 7/16 would go like right here. So it's really close to that half. So what's 1 plus 1/2?
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. And that's actually a good point. I'm glad you brought it up. If it's a fractional problem, you need to have a fractional answer. If it's a decimal problem, decimal answer. If it's neither decimal nor fraction or both, you can choose whichever one you want. Okay, Let's do the last one, C, and this is subtraction. 4/5 minus 3/8. 4/5 minus 3/8. Okay, somebody who has not spoken yet. 4/5. What does it round to? So I'm not even going to give you the options. I'm just going to tell you what does it round to. Jensen, what does 4/5 round to? 1. It's a fifth away from 1. 3/8 rounds to. I know Max knows it, but I'm going to see. I don't know if Sydney, I don't know if I've called you, but go ahead. Half. So it's 1 minus a half. What's 1 minus 1/2?
Half.
It's just a half. That's your estimate. Yes, minus. Yes, keep that.
What's our homework?
Yes, homework. 23 through 43 odd.
Are you sure that's numbers good? Don't react.
Don't react.
Yeah, so we see that's the burger job. Wait, 43 over 93.
Yes.
So we have to do 2 on that.
I'll talk to you in just a moment.
Way too little.
231, 232.